welcome, dear friends, to Kardec Radio. Kardec Radio is 13 years old. Yes, it is a team. And what do we do with this team? We create more identity. And that's why Kardec Radio, in its 13th anniversary, brought a new branch, Kardec Flix. Yes, go to kardecflix.com.org and enjoy more than 170 programs and almost 10,000 videos and podcasts for you. An opportunity for us to click, and Spiritism is just a click away at Kardec Flix. Not only that, but we also, in this 13 years and the support of the Spirit Side of Virginia, we released 5 books through a new publisher, Kardec Publisher. Just go to kardecpublisher.com or .org and order your books. Books now for children, but soon for teens and adults. And you're going to enjoy illuminating your world. And talking about illuminating world, Kardec is the one. Without Kardec, we wouldn't be here at Kardec Radio, of course not. And where to begin? Where to begin a new life? Spiritism didn't come for us to evoke spirits, know that they exist, know that there is the afterlife, but really to make us progress faster. As Kardec says in the Spirit's book, well, he asked the question and got the answer from the spirits. When we know ourselves, we progress more steadily, make less mistakes, and Spiritism helps us with just that. And to talk about ourselves, we're talking about the fact that we're spirits. We studied it last week with our friends, Leo Vieira and Roberto Watanabe. Today, we're going to consider a new topic, communication with spirits. Well, you and I are communicating through the internet. Why can't we communicate with others who do not have a physical body, who passed on, who discarnated? Well, to talk about this, we have 2 scholars here who have been dedicating themselves to the study of Spiritism, Alba Morales and Glaucio Pessoa. I'm going to begin with our dear Alba. Yes, hello, Albita, my friend.
Hey,
How
Vanessa.
are you?
I'm so happy to be here, and it's an honor to be here and a joy. I feel because my profession is being a teacher, so I feel that this is the proper platform to share the studies that I have been doing during these last years.
You're right. And Alba, you have been at the Spiritist Society of Baltimore, helping at so many ends, sharing these teachings, teaching the children, helping mediumistic meetings. Let's talk about that. As a medium,
Mhm.
right? As a medium, you potentially see life differently because you are aware of life in its reality as spirit
Both
and
sides.
temporarily here. What would you like to say in that regard?
First of all, Spiritism came to me as as a science that gives you hope. And I just want to put out that hope, because knowing that me, myself, my essence is a spirit, I know that this body is temporary. It's something that is a dress that we wear for a number of years. Then we go back to the real country, the spirit realm, and we come back. And then as a medium, it's been a great journey, because as a medium, we born mediums. We are all are mediums, as Kardec says, but we need to educate ourselves. So educating myself is being very helpful, because then you learn about how to focus in this communication that is in a organized environment. It's not wherever I please, whenever I want, or whatever. No, no, no. And I think maybe we're going to talk a little bit more with Glaucio about
Yes.
it, because this is not just like a let us play a little bit and evoke people. No, this is a serious commitment, and as a serious commitment, we always have the presence of God. And that's very important in our mediumistic meetings. That's how we call it.
Exactly. Thank you, Alba. And we're studying the book What is Spiritism by Kardec. And for those who are watching us, we are in item 22. I have it here on my phone. You can have it on your phone. It's very easy. Go there to your book app or Kindle, and quickly you can get the book. And at any sit down moment, you go there, you browse through it, and we're going to learn today specifically about one of the main topics of studying Spiritism, about communication with the invisible world. I mean, this is so important. And to help us, we have our dear friend Glaucio Pessoa from Caritas Spiritus Group of Atlanta, Georgia. Thank you, Glaucio. How have you been?
I've been great. I'm excited to be here with both of you ladies and to discuss a fundamental topic. It is interesting that, like the old saying goes, everything is in the details. And as like Albita mentioned quite correctly, the education is very important. Kardec emphasized that especially in the medium's book, the need for the medium to study. And quite interesting also, Vanessa, you mentioned the possibility for us to communicate and use the internet. And the reason why we're able to communicate with either our wireless technology or some other technology is that someone studied the technology. It's not a magical thing. It is basically somebody studied ways to apply laws of nature, laws of electromagnetics and optics, for instance, and bring all the content to us. So to Albita's point, also mediumship requires the knowledge as well. The same way that if somebody is not qualified to go work on a cell tower, that individual will have problems. The same way if somebody is not qualified, does not have study, does not have knowledge, and tries to work with mediumship, then that individual will definitely run into problems as well. So the education is key.
Mhm.
Yes. So, as we're studying this book, I want to remind you that both Alba and Glaucio are not unknown at Kardec Radio because they are hosts at Kardec Radio. They have been helping share these teachings also here at Kardec Radio, which is so important. As Emmanuel said once through Chico Xavier, the Brazilian medium, the greatest charity we can do for Spiritism is to disseminate it. It's so important to share. The knowledge is not ours, but we share it. It's so vital. It's like you have a recipe of a wonderful meal and you share. And I don't want to minimize it, but I say it's nourishment for immortality, not only for a moment, but for immortality. Talking about immortality, Kardec begins this conversation with the reader of the book in item 22, saying that in order to talk about this, we first need to accept the survival of the soul. So if you're watching this and like, I'm not so sure if we keep on living or not, so we need to deal with that first before we talk about communication between two realms. It
Mhm.
seems logical, but many people don't talk about it. So he asks, are communication between souls, which is the incarnate spirit, and the living possible? Okay, spirits and the living. And I just want to kickstart with this statement. This possibility is a result of experience. Um, Alba, being a medium and being part of mediumistic meeting, you can also attest to this fact as Kardec did,
Yes.
right?
Yes. Yes. In the spirit centers, the focal point of a spirit center, besides education, it is having the mediumistic meeting. So I will say majority of most of the spirit centers here in the United States and around the world, they have a mediumistic meeting, which just to give an example, an image, what is a mediumistic meeting? It is a moment and a place in which a group of people, the mediums, and some other people that are studying Spiritism, we come together, we pray together, we ask the name of God, is important, and then we are there to serve, to help, to assist. We are not there to entertain. We are not there to ask the spirits what is going to be the winner of the lottery or the Super Bowl, whatever. We are not there to ask frivolous things. Why? In the spirit centers, we need to assist brothers and sisters that already detached from matter, that they pass away, they discarnate, and because they didn't receive this knowledge or this education, or they were in denial, then they are lost in the spirit world. Like it's like a traveler that lost the ticket and doesn't know where to go, something like that, right? So we're there with the medium. The medium is exactly that, is the medium. It's like a tool, let us put it that way, through which the spirit, the suffering spirit, communicates. The suffering spirit doesn't enter the body because the spirit is not inside of the body. The spirit is connected cell by cell in our bodies. Therefore, no one is going to invade, our body. So it is mind to mind. Like let's say Vanessa right here is the spirit, and she wants to communicate to Glaucio something, a message. So she's telling me with her voice, dictating me, but it's mind to mind. There is also the mechanical mediums, and there are so many types of mediumship in which you write down a message, etc. So yes, we have been seeing all these sort of spirits, and I don't want to take too much time, but one of the friends that visit us in one of our mediumistic meetings, it was the spirit of a young lady about 32 years old, and she was very frightening and very lost. So the counselor, which is another spirited person, talks directly to her through me and start guiding her and calming her down, like everything is all right. There are spirits helping you. And one of the things that she say after a long conversation is she say, I wish someone told me this when I was in the flesh. I won't be so lost and so frightened after my passing away. And that truly echo in me, because it is important what you say, Vanessa, the dissemination of the Spiritist doctrine.
Exactly. So you're talking about the mechanisms, and Glaucio, you talked about the importance of studying to understand it, and Kardec explains that it is through the spiritual body that this communication is made available, the perispirit. It's mind to mind. Through the spiritual body, we can communicate between worlds. So there is an interface, right?
Right. And it's so interesting that Kardec, he did a great job of explaining the need of an interface. It would have been, I would say, so there are so many things that we have as technology wise nowadays uh, that make us easier to understand how it takes place. But in essence, what you have the spirit, which is composed of the spiritual principle, which is intelligent. And this is very important because Kardec alludes to the fact that just because somebody passes away, the body dies, but that individuality lives on. Like Albita was mentioning, the very interesting case of the spirit, that spirit, that individuality, that intelligence lives on, but that's spiritual. And then you have the body, which is 100% matter. So you cannot connect both together. And if you can, we can use so many analogies. You can use an internet router. Everybody has a router at home or an internet modem at home. So without the modem, without the gateway, whatever you want to, the cable modem, for instance, you're not going to be able to connect to the internet. So we have all these different types of interfaces. So it's kind of makes more sense. So the perispirit is kind of similar to your internet gateway, your internet router, that is going to allow for the communication to happen between between the spirit using it to another spirit. And then and that's why we have the perispirit, which is an interface. In this particular case, in our case, as incarnate spirits, we have this semi-material. It's still matter, but it is in a very subtle stage. So it provides that interface. And to Albita's point as well, the way the communication takes place is through this interface from the spirit to the medium using the perispirit. So it's again, you're sending information the same way that communicating 2 points on the internet. You have your internet modem at your house, somebody else has their internet modem or gateway, and they're communicating. So that's the way this communication is taking place. So the we have, of course, the material, the spiritual and the material elements, and then we need this semi-material. It's still matter, but it's in a more subtle way, and it has this interface between the two, makes it possible. It makes it possible. So I admire, kudos to Kardec to explaining this to us 170 years, 165 years ago. Um, Give it or take, and then 165. So, and making it clear to us how that process takes place, and introducing this interface.
Mhm.
Yes. And he keeps explaining that in ways that are very deep. He talks about the fact that the spirits may use the very ectoplasmic fluids of the medium to make manifest what they are thinking, what they are intending to make manifest through us. And he says, Spiritism is the science that enables us, this is so interesting, enables us to know about this law, which is the law of this that governs the exchange between the visible and the invisible, which he says is nothing supernatural but natural. He considers them natural phenomena. And he says, just as mechanics enables us to know about the law of motion and optics, the law of light. So we want to emphasize that Kardec, time and again, here in this book, What Spiritism, in the Medium's book, at the very beginning, he says, what we're talking about is not supernatural. It's actually very natural. It belongs to the events of nature.
Mhm.
So it's so natural, right, Alba, that we as mediums, as he says, we need mediums, people who can more susceptible to this communication. They manifest the minds of the beyond. It's so natural that when we least expect, we feel their presence. They start communicating. Right, and I want to share something. I remember when we were the Spiritist thought about me, and you received the songs. They were used for activities for children, and some of them, like the beautiful "I'm a Child of God," right? You want to talk about it?
Yes, Vanessa, of course. Um, I was thinking something else before you mentioned the songs, and it will come back to my mind. I think it's important to mention that. Yes, so years ago, we have this large group of children. They are currently young adults now. And we were doing the spirit children education, and we decided to start doing like a summer camp with them. And we were trying to create the topics, etc. And then in one of the mediumistic meetings, the way I perceive how it came, the message, it was by listening a choir of children singing the song. So it was a little bit challenging for me. Keep it up, writing down the lyrics. And then in my mind, because there is interesting when you are a medium, you can be an unconscious medium, and semi-conscious medium, or conscious. So I'm semi-conscious, I'm between here and there. But I was thinking in my mind how I am going to communicate the music. I'm not a musician. I don't know how to write music. And I feel the need to kind of memorize the rhythm, right? But at the moment, when we finish the mediumistic meeting, we always do an evaluation just to see, just to take in consideration everything that was happening there, how everybody's feeling, etc., etc. But that time, I completely forgot about the music. I couldn't retain that. We shared this with our dear friend, um,
Stephen Shepherd.
Stephen Shepard. He's a musician. So we shared the lyrics with him, and it was 24 hours, 48 hours later, he got the music, definitely, because he had that channel for, communicate music from the spirit realm to
Yes.
music to the physical round. Yes. So there was, and we have some other songs that came that way to communicate, even topics to develop with we have a school for parents at the time. So we have like a 5 main topics, and it was developed. It was communicated in a mediumistic meeting because, as the book say, the book that we are discussing right now, high order spirits, they communicate with us to instruct us, to
Yes.
guide us, and to inspire us. And that's the way we recognize they are high order spirits. They don't impose, they don't push, they don't tell us exactly what to do, like a number 777 of the lottery. That is not. That is another spirit, a different spirit that probably just want to have fun with us, doesn't have probably a evil intention, let me put it that way, but it's certainly the communication is not serious, right? So yes, that was the experience.
Yes. So talking about that, we want to extend to that point because Kardec in item 35 says communications received from spirits may be good or bad, correct or erroneous, profound or superficial, depending on the nature of the spirits that manifest. And I know Glaucio is smiling because before we started the program, he made a wonderful comment about frivolous spirits, serious spirits. And as Alba is saying, Glaucio, please, would you like to add more?
Yeah, I'd like to mention. I mean, if you ladies don't mind going back to the whole song. So I have a friend who is a musician and who is not. Um,
Spiritist.
he's a spiritist,
Oh,
but he's not an ostensive medium.
okay.
And it is interesting. He does compose music, of course, being a musician. And once he told us that the ideas the inspiration for his songs, for the lyrics, he explains they are beyond me. These are not. He studies spiritist. He's an avid spiritist student. He's very studious. But he just mentioned, no, believe me, these songs are I'm not the true author. These songs, they definitely came from a higher intelligence, and from, from the mind. So goes back to the whole purpose of mediumship, and talking about mediumships sessions. So the same way that a serious incarnate individual would not waste his or his time in a frivolous meeting, either presenting or being a participant, or or even a helper, a volunteer, whatnot. So the spirits would do the same. To Albita's point, a spirit that would dictate the lotto numbers. I mean, that is a spirit that obviously is not serious, or misinformed, because there's that too. So those are the kinds of spirits that will be attracted. And I'll say also, in the chapter that we're studying here, there is mentioned that both works both ways. Both serious spirits would not attend those types of meetings, and serious incarnate spirits would not be impressed by watching frivolous meetings. I did have an experience. I did attend one mediumistic meeting in a center, which was not a spiritist center, was a spiritualistic center. And the spirits, the mediums, they would dress up according to the type of spirit. Now, I would not dare to be harsh, because again, it's not spiritism, of course. It's very mystical. And I was just thinking about the types of spirits that would be there. Without fairness, I did not feel a bad energy when I was there. But it is not spiritism. It is not what a spiritist would be looking for. So the spirits, both incarnate and disincarnate, they are looking for serious meetings. They are looking for serious individuals, because they know that is an opportunity, like Albita mentioned so precisely. It's an opportunity for learning. It's an opportunity for improvement of a group that should not be wasted. And again, it should not. We would not expect disincarnate spirits to waste their times, and the same way also with incarnate spirits as well, to waste their times. And if you ladies just allow me um, uh, 30 more seconds to make a comment. Also, the same way that people who would do frivolous activities, they are not necessarily bad people. The same, because the spirits, just like Kardec mentioned, the spirits, they're just like us after we
Yes.
disincarnate. So the same way that just because you're frivolous, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're bad. It's just that you're either frivolous, or you're sometimes you also don't know. Also, you don't know any better. So it's not that there is an evil. Those are evil spirits. It's just that not necessarily, they just don't know any better.
Exactly. So, in that regard, I want to point out two things. For those who are watching us, I want to show the latest, the latest version of the latest issue of the Spiritist magazine. Okay, this is issue 66, and there is a specific article. It's a two paragraphs that were taken from a book that is yet to be translated. You can get the source from the magazine. When Dr. Bezerra de Menezes, through the hands of Yvonne Pereira, writes that Spiritist centers are not a club. If you go there specifically to um, page 88, you will see that he says quite clearly that we need, just like Kardec said, we need to be careful, very careful. You want to see it? Let me show it to you. Okay. You can read the Spiritist magazine for free in your app. You can read it on your computer. You can download the PDF from spiritistmagazine.org.com. You can receive your magazine, the paperback, exactly to your house if you buy through our partner MagCloud. And here he says quite beautifully, that a spirit is center where the vibrations of its incarnate and discarnate attendees radiate respect, fervent faith, high aspiration. And he keeps talking about blum, 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 blum. That spiritist center will be the holder of the confidence of enlightened spirituality. Otherwise, they'll be considered a club
Hmm.
where people go when they think they have nothing else to do. Kardec thought exactly like this. He always said they were very serious. People cannot simply come into spiritist centers. Oh, I'm curious. Even if it's not a mediumistic meeting, we need to be reverent.
Mhm.
Okay? I see people come, oh, my husband brought me, I didn't want to come. My wife brought me, I didn't want to come. I said, but you go with respect. So I'm saying this because there is this book. It's not in English yet. Forgive us. There are so many books not in English yet. But this book, Euripides, the Medium of Jesus, contains mediumistic messages received by one of the most renowned spiritist mediums that ever existed besides Chico Xavier, Professor Euripides Barçanufo. He had contact directly. These are messages that came between 1906 and 1909 in Brazil. And I've seen the very originals that are in the museum in the city of Sacramento at his very college, the one that he created. And we see messages here from very high order spirits. Mother Mary,
Mhm.
her mother. We see messages from Saint Vincent de Paul, Joan of Arc, and many others. And you can also find every issue of the Spiritist magazine. Some of these excerpts of this are being translated and published there.
Hmm.
Even Angel Gabriel.
Wow.
I'm sharing this because not that the names are the most important part of it, but if you see the structure of the meetings, then, at Kardec's time, at Professor Rip's Barçanufo time, Yvonne Pereira's time when she received that message from Dr. Brazier de Menezes, and nowadays, we still need that reverence, that respect. And I'm sharing this because Alba and Glaucio, you know how often people come in spiritist centers and say, oh, but I'm a medium. I'm ready. I see spirits. I talk to spirits. I want to be in the meetings, but that's not the order of events. Alba, you want to talk about that? The
Yes,
requirements. Kardec
sure.
talks about it here.
Mhm. Vanessa, if you allow me before I respond to your question, in my mind it keep coming these two words: word of caution. Communicating with the spirits is not a game that we can do at home or in a public place or anywhere. Think of communication with the spirits as an open heart surgery. Would you have your loved one to have open heart surgery in your living room, in the mall, in someone else's house?
Hmm.
No. There are conditions to have this surgery. So many factors to take in consideration if we want it to be successful. So if we are thinking like, I want to play, I want to evoke spirits, that is a big no, no, because it's not a safe, it's not an aseptic environment.
Hmm.
Any spirit can communicate with you, definitely, but not like the high evolved spirits. There is not the protection that we have in the spirit center, in the mediumistic room. There is protection there. There is some sort of cleanliness, uh, hygiene there, right? So just make sure of that, because then we will have problems and trouble in our lives, because we have a spirit that is following us everywhere we go. We feel in our thoughts is making us suffer, etc., etc. So now I forgot the question, Vanessa. You see?
No, no, no. You addressed it in many ways, and I think we posted here your main comment. I think that's the direction. And I know Glaucio, Kardec says we need to use our reasoning. As he says, the quality of spirits may be determined by their language.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
serious spirits, their language is different from frivolous ones, right?
Yeah, especially the content and the ideas, and it comes like they say, it comes as a package. So it is you. There was a very good example, the book by Bassanufo, and if a medium like Bassanufo received a message from Joan of Arc, I would believe it because, to Albita's point, it is someone who's prepared, right? If somebody studied medicine and did many years of study and specialized in heart surgery, I have at least some understanding that, hey, this is somebody who's serious. So that applies to that. So it's not enough for a spirit to present itself as Joan of Arc. You're gonna check the content, the veracity. It's kind of like a checklist. You're gonna say,
Mhm.
okay, what content, the language, the
Yes.
content, the ideas. Are,
Yeah.
are there any contradictions? And Kardec mentions that you pay attention to it, and they will contradict themselves. The spirits, and I'm pretty sure Albita can second me on that. This a spirit, a pseudo, because the same way again, also Kardec emphasized that the spirits are us in the
Mhm.
spiritual world. So the same way that there are arrogant people who do not, who think that if they admit that they're wrong, they're going to look foolish. The same way they're unfortunately they're like us. The spirits would come up with messages and say something, say beautiful things, but as you analyze the content, you're going to see that that is not correct, right? If a heart surgeon, if somebody comes to me and says, "Hey, I'm a heart surgeon, I have all these years," I say, okay, good. And then, but this person doesn't know the difference. That he doesn't. This individual doesn't know that where the heart is located. It's something very basic. Then you're gonna know, okay, there's something wrong here. That's a red flag right there. Right? So that's the same way you analyze. You analyze the language, of course, the content, the context, of the message, and if there are any contradictions. Also, Kardec emphasizes that the higher order spirits, they never impose. Jesus was he's our model, and Jesus never imposed anything. And I remember that in many instances, what Jesus said, for instance, in Lazarus' case, what Jesus said to Lazarus was, "Stand up and walk," meaning, "Hey, now it's up to you." So higher spirits, they're like that. So you gotta, it's a whole package: the language, the way they communicate, the content, if there are any contradictions, and also we're talking about the respect that those spirits have for our free will as well.
Yes.
Mhm.
And okay, so as we're talking about this, Eliza Geisel Rodriguez, a friend of Kardec Radio for the longest time, she says, I've read and heard other mediums and I get the same feeling. Not that are the non-spiritists are bad people or energy, but the focus is in a different way. We have to highlight and focus topics that truly matter or lead to the evolution of the soul. I'm still humbly new and learning as a spiritist, but now notice an obvious difference. Exactly. And Kardec helps us, Eliza, because in items 38, 39, and 40 onwards, 41, he says the difference between low order spirits and high order spirits. And I remember when visiting a spiritualist city with spiritualist friends who they understand the same thing, but they don't have the guidelines, the framework that we do in spiritism. So we would sit down like we were talking in somebody's living room, and
Mhm.
then they would. eat peanuts, and then we stop and say, okay, so now let's talk to the spirits. And then we would talk to the spirits, like, oh, I'm seeing this person, that person, da, da, da. So I call it peanut mediumship.
Hmm.
It's peanut mediumship,
Okay.
right? Because it's like there's no rule. And Kardec, Alban Glaucio, he says in item 41, communicating with spirits must always be done calmly and thoughtfully. So eating peanuts, chatting, and then leaving the peanuts there and closing our eyes, communicating. Nananina, não. We must never lose sight of the fact that spirits are the souls of men and women, and that it would be inappropriate to make them the object of a game or entertainment.
Yeah.
I mean, I think this should be a banner in every city all over the world for people who take it lightly. And I know people who say, you say spiritism, they run away, but they quickly call a psychic at the beginning of the year to know what's going to happen that year. I've seen
Mhm.
that. Right, Alba?
Yes, that's right, Vanessa. And I wanted to go back to the peanuts and the example of the of the open heart surgery. Just imagine the surgeon eating peanuts.
Right.
That's a recipe for failure. Recipe for failure, right? You're a doctor, Vanessa. You know the implications. So let us think that way, right? And also the seriousness of the speed of the mediumistic meeting is with all respect for the people who is there, for the audience. They're suffering. So let us put an example, like you have a cold, right? And instead of someone coming and assists you and say, hey, you want this chicken soup, whatever it is, people start observing you and making fun of you and not paying attention to you, really, to your pain, to your need. How will you feel, right? That's one thing. The other thing is it is important to have all these different um, safety procedures that we can read it in the
Mhm.
medium's book. At the very end of the medium's book, Kardec is giving us the 1, 2, 3, and 20 something items to say this is, you need to consider this in a mediumistic meeting. It is important also because any kind of light-headed spirit will say, oh, I was Napoleon, or I was so and so. Then, as Glaucio explained it very well, you need to pay attention what the spirit is saying, how it's saying, the contradictions, and you eventually will notice like no, you are presenting yourself as this person, but you are not, right? And it is so easy for them to kind of blind us because we don't see them with our physical eyes, and they can present themselves as they please. That's the power of thought. So we need to be very cautious about it. That's the other situation. So if a spirit comes to you and say, I am saint, whatever, any saint, and I'm coming to you to tell you your well fortune, um, no, because in this book, Vanessa, and I forgot the item, they say the higher their spirits, they have occupations.
Mhm.
It's not like I'm playing the what is the instrument, whatever
Harp.
instrument, the harp. Friends, no. We are life, we are movement, we are action, and we are co-creators of the universe. So when we discarnate, when we left this physical body, we have things to do. It's not like I'm going to sleep for the rest of my life. We can learn, we can go to universities, we can do a lot of things. So high order spirits, they have responsibilities, and it is not fair to evoke them as a genius, as my will, and they are going to come running to see what I want. So it's like calling a professor from an university every time I please because I have a problem with my child and it's a psychologist or something like that. The professor won't run to me. I need to be respectful. I need to make an appointment, right?
See,
So that's why it's important to keep all these considerations in mind.
yes, Glaucio. Kardec even adds that spirits are attracted out of affinity, similarity of tastes or character, and the intention of whomever desires their presence. High order spirits would no more, as Alba said, attend a pointless meeting than a scholar would attend a meeting of thoughtless children. Plain common sense says it could not be otherwise, right?
Yeah, it is quite interesting because just like again, Kardec explains that the spirits they are us, right? We are reincarnated spirits. So our common sense applies to them. And to Albita mentioned something very interesting, the whole empathy, the respect, the empathy. And nowadays, I'm pretty sure, ladies, that if Kardec wrote a lot of these topics today, he would mention something that we know so well, which is called emotional intelligence, or at least we labeled emotional intelligence. So the same way that you need to have emotional intelligence when you deal with incarnated, disincarnated brothers and sisters, you also have to have emotional intelligence with the spirits, because it will be, to Albita's example, it will be disrespectful for you to call a college professor at any time and ask, just because has a PhD in psychology, to come and with childish matters. So it's just disrespectful. It is not the way you treat um, someone, a college professor. And there are risks there as well. Again, if that's the kind of activity, and going back to the whole point about affinity, then there could be someone out there that is going to pass. If you're being so frivolous, someone is going to pass as a college professor and say, "Hey, by the way, my name is, I'm Sigmund Freud or Jung," and I'm saying, "Hey, I can help you." And that spirit is just again, that's the kind of, because it's gonna be an affinity. If you're having frivolous meetings, frivolous questions, you're gonna have to have affinity. Just like with people here on Earth, you're gonna have affinity with also frivolous spirits. And Vanessa, you mentioned a very interesting point as well, and that's where there's a difference, a striking difference between spirituality, spiritualism, I should say, between not spirituality, but spiritualism and spiritism. And a lot of people, they are, they see spirit, they get both of them mixed up. And again, in spiritualism, spiritualism is this large umbrella that includes all their activities as well. Spiritism is a body of knowledge. Spiritism has processes like we're studying right now, like Albita also mentioned, Kardec in the Medium's book. There are processes, there are procedures, there's methods, there is a common sense, there's a methodology behind it. That's what makes spiritism. And spiritualism is like the overarching umbrella that includes spiritualism in a sense, but then other activities as well. And again, with all due respect, if you attend a meeting where people uh, are eating peanuts, again, it's just that if you read the basic, have the basic knowledge, you're gonna know that you need to be prepared. You have to prepare yourself for mediumship, for those mediumship meetings, because again, also mediumship. Kardec alludes to the fact that mediumship is something natural. Spiritism did not create mediumship. Mediumship is everywhere. So if you're not preparing yourself the right way, then your mediumship's you're gonna have mediumship phenomena, but what kind of affinity, what kind of spiritual friends, or what kind of spiritual, I should say, what kind of spirits are gonna come to your meetings? So that's why you have to have this body of knowledge, you have this rigor, so that you know that those spirits that are going to be in your mediumistic sessions, they are serious spirits that are in tuned with serious activities.
Exactly. I know we are enjoying this time here. I am as well. But we have to wrap up. And look who is here, Glaucio, our friend Rita de
My
Cassia.
friend, hello Rita, my friend Rita. I miss you. My friend Rita went to Brazil. I miss her so
I
much.
know we miss her. How come? But she says Spiritism is a light in our hearts, helping us to go in our lives. And Kardec almost finalizes this item by saying that everything must occur respectfully, religiously, and honorably if its aim is to obtain the habitual concourse of good spirits. And this is not only for mediumistic meetings, it's for any meeting in a spiritist center,
That's
any
right.
meeting. Because I see many spiritist centers that it becomes a club. We get together, we're loud, and no, 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 no. If we want the good spirits there, we need it to be reverent, friendly, kind, loving, but as he says, respectfully, religiously, honorably, in order to get the guidance of the good spirits. So,
Mhm.
as we have here also Sandra Masoro, thank you so much, Sandra. Thank you for being with us, for giving your feedback. Hita is giving a hug. Thank you.
Rita, can I send a hug to Rita? Hey, Rita, I'm sending a hug to you too.
Yes, we love her. And okay, so let's just go one last round, our final comments. But I know you guys will be back in the future for more study in this book, What is Spiritism? How would you like to finalize with your comment, Alba, before Glaucio does it, please?
I want to repeat what we find in the mediums book. We all are mediums. This is a faculty that is natural to us human beings, like the intelligence. So it's nothing supernatural or extraordinary about it. However, some must, let us use the word ostensible, the mediumship is more ostensible than others. But we every day, almost at every moment, we are communicating with our minds, with the spirits. So let us be vigilant with our thoughts. Let us be vigilant with what watch, read, and with the people we are around. That's that will be my message for tonight.
Thank you. And as Kardec says, I love his statement. Look at this, it goes hand in hand. It is a mistake to make a sport of physical manifestations
That's
because he
true.
talks about the malevolent spirits. But we'll talk more about this next week onwards. Glaucio, what would you like
Um,
to say?
it is quite interesting because we so many people, and Vanessa, this is why it's so good for this for you to offer, Kardec to offer these types of programs, because for so many people, the spiritual world and mediumship, those are, I shouldn't say, I wouldn't even say supernatural, they are unnatural
Yeah,
uh, principles, but they are very natural. The spiritual world is ubiquitous wherever we are, may it be in the Spiritist Center, in our homes, in our places of work, in any place, even any place of worship that we might be, we're going to be, we're going to be in touch. We're going to be interfacing with the spiritual world. And so let's keep that in mind as well in our actions. What kind of, and going back to the topic about affinity, what kind of spiritual brothers and sisters are we going to bring to our homes, to our workplaces, into our lives? What kind of doors are we going to open? So of course, the focus here is mediumships, but we are always the interface. And Kardec mentions in the Spirits book that the influence of the spirits in our lives. Sometimes, most of the times they are impacting us, and we do not even realize. So let's make sure that we have the right attitude so that we have established this connection with good spirits, with serious spirits, with respectful spirits, of course during the mediumistic activities, but especially in our daily lives.
Yes. It's fascinating. And we have here friends Andrea expressing her gratitude. Eliza, thank you, friends. It's so important for us to communicate with one another as well. So we would recommend go there, read these items of the session, communication with the invisible world, in the What is Spiritism book. Next week, when we come back, we will talk about the providential goal of the spirit manifestations. And followed by that, we'll talk about mediums, the mediums themselves, because the more we are aware of it, Spiritism is a science, the more we can benefit from engaging this work safely. As Alba said, caution, and our friend Glaucio here emphasizing. I love when you said, Glaucio, that for so many people it's unnatural. You're so right. Unnatural. But that's why Kardec Radio is here, to nourish our souls, to make it more natural, all the more natural. And we recommend that you read this book, the Medium's book, and check the Spiritist magazine, because it's an opportunity to learn more about this topic. I want to thank Alba. Thank you so much, Albita, for
Mm,
being here with us, for always your loving heart and loving explanations. And dear friend Glaucio, thank you so much for making up the time, for being here with us and sharing also your studies. We look forward to having you back. All right.
Pleasure.
thank
And
you.
for those who were watching us, thank you again and again. We look forward to seeing you next week. For now, we wish you many blessings.